The city bustled with a cold indifference. Edward, a man of considerable wealth, barely noticed. One rainy Thursday, however, a flicker of something different caught his eye. It was a young woman, barely more than a girl, huddled beneath a threadbare blanket on the sidewalk. As he waited for the crosswalk signal to change, their eyes met. For a fleeting moment, the bustling city faded away, and there was only the man and the girl, their worlds colliding in the pouring rain. As the crosswalk signal turned green, Edward made a decision. Stepping onto the sidewalk, he approached her cautiously, his heart pounding with an unfamiliar mix of apprehension and compassion. Rain plastered the girl's hair to her forehead, her clothes soaked and clinging to her thin frame. She looked up at Edward, her eyes wary, suspicious.
Are you all right?
I'm fine.
She mumbled, her voice barely a whisper. Edward hesitated, unsure how to proceed. He had never been good with words, especially not words of comfort. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $100 bill.
Here, get yourself something warm to eat.
The girl stared at the money, her eyes wide with disbelief. Tentatively, she reached out and took the bill, her fingers brushing against Edward's.
Thank you,
she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Edward nodded, a strange mix of emotions swirling within him. He turned to leave, the familiar bustle of the city pulling him back into its frenetic embrace. But as he took a step, he heard her voice again, small and hesitant.
Wait, what's your name?
Edward hesitated, surprised by her question.
Thank you, Mr. Sterling, for everything. S1, media, man introducing himself with a handshake, man looking confident. Edward Sterling.
And with that, she was gone, disappearing into the crowd as quickly as she had appeared. Edward watched her go, a strange emptiness settling in his chest. He returned to his life of luxury and routine, but something had shifted within him. One evening, as he sat alone in his opulent dining room, the phone rang. It was his housekeeper, her voice tight with worry.
Mr. Sterling, it's Michael. He's running a high fever and he won't stop coughing.
Michael, his son, the one bright spot in Edward's otherwise solitary existence. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through Edward's carefully constructed composure. He rushed to his son's room, his heart pounding in his chest. The sight that greeted him was heartbreaking. Michael, his usually vibrant son, lay pale and listless in his grand four-poster bed, his small chest convulsing with each cough.
Michael, my boy.
Edward sat by his son's bedside, holding his fragile hand, whispering words of comfort that rang hollow even to his own ears. Days turned into weeks, and Michael's condition worsened. One afternoon, as he sat by Michael's bedside, his mind racing with worry and despair, a thought occurred to him.
What if she could help?
Edward remembered the homeless girl, the one he had encountered on that rainy Thursday. Her image had haunted him ever since, her eyes filled with a mixture of despair and resilience. He couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do something, anything to help her.
I have to find her. I can't just leave her out there. She deserves a chance, a way out of this misery.
He set out into the city, his chauffeured limousine feeling out of place in the gritty streets where he had last seen her. The contrast between his world and hers was stark, almost jarring. The luxury of his car seemed almost obscene against the backdrop of poverty and struggle. As Edward's limousine pulled up to the corner where he had first encountered the girl, he saw her. She was still there, in the same spot, as if time had stood still for her. The sight tugged at his heartstrings, making him more determined than ever. She was huddled beneath the same threadbare blanket, her eyes fixed on the pavement. The world seemed to pass her by, indifferent to her plight. Edward knew he had to act now.
Excuse me, do you remember me? He asked, his voice gentle but urgent. He hoped she would recognize him, that she would see he was there to help.
Mr. Sterling, she replied, her voice tinged with surprise and a glimmer of hope. It was as if she couldn't believe someone had come back for her.
Yes, it's me. I need your help, he said, his voice filled with urgency. He knew he was asking a lot, but he also knew she had the strength to help him.
He explained his son's illness, his desperation, his hope that she might be able to help. He poured his heart out, hoping she would understand the gravity of the situation. He needed her to see that this was more than just a job. It was a lifeline for his son. He offered her a job, a place to stay, a chance to escape the harsh realities of life on the streets. It was an opportunity for a fresh start, a new beginning. He hoped she would see it as the lifeline it was. The girl listened intently, her eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and cautious hope. She had been let down so many times before, but something about Edward's sincerity made her want to believe. When Edward finished speaking, she hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. It was a leap of faith, but she felt she had nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Okay, I'll do it, she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. It was a decision that would change both their lives.
Edward brought her back to his mansion, a world away from the streets she knew. The grandeur of the place was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the life she had been living. It was like stepping into a different universe. He introduced her to the housekeeper, a kind woman named Mrs. Davis, who welcomed her with a warm smile and a plate of freshly baked cookies. The simple gesture made her feel at home, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Edward then led her to Michael's room, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and trepidation. He prayed that this would be the solution they had been searching for.
Michael, this is Sarah. She's going to be taking care of you for a while, he said, his voice filled with a father's love and concern.
Hi, Sarah, Michael said, his voice small but hopeful. It was the beginning of a new chapter for all of them.
Days turned into weeks, and the seasons began to change. Sarah became an indispensable part of their household, seamlessly blending into their daily routines.
Sarah, you always make me feel better. You have a special way of making everything okay.
Under her care, Michael began to improve, his health steadily getting better.
It's amazing how much better he looks. His energy is back and he's smiling again.
Edward, witnessing this transformation, felt a profound sense of relief. He felt a weight lift from his chest, a burden he had carried for so long. He found himself seeking her out, engaging her in conversations more frequently, drawn to her quiet strength and genuine warmth that seemed to radiate from her.
Sarah, tell me more about your dreams. What inspires you? What do you hope for the future? What are your aspirations?
I just want to help people, Mr. Sterling, like you've helped me. I want to make a difference.
He learned of her difficult past, the hardships she had endured, her struggles on the streets, fighting for survival every day, and her dreams for a better future, filled with hope and determination. Guilt gnawed at him, the memory of the hidden camera, a constant shadow, a reminder of his own failings. One evening, while reviewing the camera footage, Edward stumbled upon something unexpected. Sarah, thinking herself unobserved, was tidying up Michael's room. She picked up his favorite teddy bear and held it close, her eyes closed.
What is she doing?
Edward watched, bewildered, as a tear rolled down her cheek. She then began to sing, her voice soft and low, a lullaby filled with such raw emotion that it sent chills down Edward's spine.
I've been so wrong about her.
The next morning, Edward approached Sarah, his heart heavy with remorse.
Sarah, I need to apologize. I installed a camera to watch you. I doubted you and I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Mr. Sterling.
From that day forward, things changed. Edward had the camera removed, a symbolic gesture of his newfound trust.
Sarah, I want to help you achieve your dreams. How about some night classes?
He enrolled her in night classes, providing her with the opportunity to pursue her education, to build a better future for herself. The bond between Sarah and Michael deepened as well.
Sarah, you're like family to me.
Michael, inspired by Sarah's strength, fought his illness with renewed vigor. Edward watched it all unfold, his heart filled with a gratitude he couldn't quite articulate. Years later, Michael, fully recovered, sat by the fireplace, a book in his lap. The warmth of the fire mirrored the warmth in his heart. Sarah, now a successful lawyer, was visiting with her young daughter, Lily. Her journey had been long and arduous, but she had persevered. Edward, his hair now streaked with silver, watched them from his armchair, reflecting on the passage of time. A contented smile gracing his lips. He had seen so much change, so much growth.
All of this, it started with a simple act of kindness, a moment that seemed insignificant at the time.
He thought back to that rainy Thursday, the day that changed everything. the day he crossed paths with a homeless girl on a crowded city street. That small gesture had set off a chain of events that none of them could have predicted.
Dad, look at Lily. She's so happy. Her laughter is like music.
And as he watched Michael lift Lily onto his lap, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Their laughter echoing through the grand halls of his home, filling every corner with joy. Edward knew he wouldn't trade this simple moment of joy and connection for all the wealth in the world. It was a reminder of what truly mattered. Sometimes, the greatest wealth is found not in what we possess, but in who we choose to become. It's the relationships we build, the love we share, and the kindness we show that define our true riches. As they gathered around the table, sharing stories and laughter, they knew that their lives had been forever changed by that one simple act. And in the quiet moments, as the sun set over their peaceful neighborhood, they were reminded that change, though often unexpected, can lead to the most beautiful transformations.